It's up to me to keep Gobbler occupied. My plan is to keep him entertained with the one thing children can't keep their hands off of: a gun.
There you go. Don't eat it all at once, okay?
I don't see this thing, quite frankly, I don't see this thing having any real presence in the meta in a couple of weeks. I think it's just going to be gone, quite frankly. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough to warrant your exotic slot. It's not good enough to warrant your energy slot. This one just, it can't compete. In my opinion, it can't compete.
The full concentrated power of the sun! Fire!
It's still warming up, sir.
What? Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt. You make me sick, you big baby.
This series is for underrated exotics. Is Devil's Ruin underrated? Well, it depends on how you define it. When Devil's Ruin first came out, content creators almost unanimously said it was great. Almost all of them made a second video about 11 months later saying it's still great. And a handful have recently made a third video saying it continues to be great. And all the comments agree. Looking for clips for the intro, it was almost impossible to find someone who was even neutral about it. So, I mean, if it's so great, where is it? Since Beyond Light, I've matched against one single person using it. I'd call that pretty underrated. Even though everyone thinks highly of it, nobody's using it. Well, let's start with the laser. It does 36 to the head, 26 to the body. That's a 0.31 second TTK with no requirements. Literally just hold down the trigger. Even if it has one ammo, you can still hold it down and it'll shoot all 15 ticks of the primary ammo laser. Also, you can interrupt the charge time to immediately tap fire, so it's not commit or quit like fusion rifles. That seems busted to a lot of people, and it is very fast. But factor in the charge time, and that you're forced to reload. So it is a 0.3 second TDK, but you'll spend about 2 whole seconds to achieve it. So depending on how you look at it, it's either the fastest TTK in the game, or the slowest. There's 540 damage in the magazine, so you can theoretically get 2 full kills, but it has to be perfect accuracy with the opponents perfectly lined up. That also means that you can shut down almost any single Guardian in the game. It beats Overshields, it beats Juggernaut, you can down someone in a super, even a well. It is also pretty much the only thing that can go through Arcstaff's block. Unfortunately, the guard doesn't allow precision damage, and neither does Bubble, so those are the only 2 things it can't completely cut through. I found its most effective playstyle is to bait people into chasing or rushing you, and turn around on them with it. As for PvE, it's an okay amount of damage, not even on the level of special ammo though. The laser is the only part that deals unstop, by the way, the sidearm part does not. So let's talk about the sidearm part. It's alright. It does 51 to the head, 37 to the body. You can down in a respectable 0.6 with perfect accuracy on 4 shots, but the realistic TTK is 5 shots at 0.8. The good thing here is that only 1 of those 5 need to be a crit. It's very stable even from the hip, and I'm sure this isn't the case, but it feels like it's the only gun that somehow completely avoided AE. It feels unusually good in the air compared to other things, and the landing screen shake, like after you jump, is barely there. And if you land while you're firing the laser, it doesn't even seem like it changes anything, it just keeps aiming straight ahead. But aside from that, the sidearm has nothing. It's just a stable gray sidearm with no perks and no mods. But the Devil's Ruin overall is great. The problem is because the sidearm half has nothing, it's kind of a one-trick pony, which is probably a huge reason people don't use it, and also there are no builds for it. Nothing affects the charge time. The only sidearm exotic is Trick Sleeves, which hardly benefit the laser, but would do a lot more for a legendary sidearm than the Tapfire Ruin. There's a few Warlock exotics in the Hunter Dodge that help the reload, but those only go so far. I mean, a passive reload isn't exactly amazing. And since it requires cover for the charge and the reload, I figured maybe Sightons, but other guns can abuse Sightons much more and faster. Then I got to Stasis, the Glacier Grenade, which is on-demand cover. The problem is there's no exotic for that. The closest we have is Hoarfrost Z, and I thought that would be good because it gives cover, damage resistance, the rally benefit to the reload. You can shoot through the crystal and still have enough in the laser to kill, just to surprise the opponent. But what I found is that, 1, it blocks so much line of sight that it's difficult to look out of. And 2, when people see you put down a barricade, they hang out for a second to shoot it or wait for you to peek. But when you put down a Hoarfrost, they immediately disengage 100% of the time, and it's wasted. So ultimately, Stasis complements its defensive playstyle, but exotic armor seems irrelevant. And no other subclass really does anything fancy with it either. There's no real options here, it just does its laser thing over and over again. And it's great at that. But I hope when it gets a catalyst that it's not just like a charge time reduction or something, but something that can actually help the normal tap fire, like any perk or a subclass interaction, just something. As a side note, since its release 3 years ago, it's been in exactly 2 patch notes, that were just situational, normal bug fixes, and 3 TWABs. 1 announcing it's in the game, 1 announcing it's leaving, and 1 this year that was just, we're keeping an eye on it when we nerf special ammo. But this weapon seems to have received at least 3 stealth changes that we know of, just unannounced. I'd like to think that there's some rogue employee at Bungie who loves this thing and secretly buffs it in between other tasks. So it's been massively under the radar for a long time, and once you master the simple playstyle of charge laser, peek, shoot, go back into cover, it just hands you 1v1 duels for free. You just gotta figure out how to place yourself in situations where those 1v1s happen.